What I witnessed that night through my granddaughter's bedroom window still makes my blood run cold. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, because if I don't tell someone the whole truth, I don't know if I'll ever sleep soundly again. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I'm 62 years old. 3 years ago, my wife Margaret passed away from cancer, and 6 months after that, my daughter-in-law died in a car accident. My son couldn't cope with raising his 9-year-old daughter alone while dealing with his grief, so little Emma came to live with me in my house in Riverside, California. It was supposed to be temporary, but we both found comfort in each other's company. She needed a stable home, and I needed a reason to keep going. For 2 years, it was just Emma and me. We had our routines. I'd make her breakfast before school, she'd help me in the garden on weekends, and every Friday night we'd have pizza and watch old movies. She was quiet, thoughtful, always had her nose in a book. Teachers said she was mature for her age. I guess losing her mother will do that to a child. Then I met Diana at the community center last spring. She was 54, attractive, warm, and seemed genuinely interested in my stories about my carpentry business. After so many years of loneliness, I felt alive again. We started dating, and within 4 months, I asked her to move in. I know now how reckless that sounds, but at the time, I convinced myself I was building a new family for Emma, a mother figure, someone to help with the girl, things I didn't understand. Diana had a son, Trevor, who was 17. Tall kid, quiet, spent most of his time on his phone or computer. He'd nod when I spoke to him, but never really engaged. Diana explained he'd been through a rough divorce with his father and was still adjusting. I thought I could be a positive male influence in his life. God, I was naive. Emma didn't like Diana from the start. She'd get quiet when Diana was around, found excuses to stay in her room. When I asked what was wrong, she'd just say, "I don't know, Grandpa. Something feels off." I dismissed it as jealousy, fear of change, normal kid stuff. I told her to give Diana a chance. I pushed my own granddaughter's instincts aside because I was too desperate for companionship to see the truth. The warning came on a Tuesday night in September. I had just closed up my workshop in the garage when Emma appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas. It was almost 9 o'clock, and her face was pale. "Grandpa," she whispered, glancing back toward the house. "Can we talk out here?" I wiped my hands on my work apron. "Sure, sweetheart. What's wrong?" She closed the garage door behind her and moved closer, her voice barely audible. "I heard Diana and Trevor talking tonight. In the kitchen, after you went to take your shower." "Okay," I said slowly, crouching down to her level. "What did they say?" Her eyes filled with tears. Diana said, "Just a few more weeks and everything falls into place. The old man trusts me completely." And Trevor said, "What about the kid?" And Diana laughed. "Grandpa." She laughed and said, "Emma's a non-issue. Child Services will place her with her father once we report the unsafe living conditions." My stomach dropped. "Emma, are you sure that's what you heard?" "I'm positive," she said, her voice cracking. I was getting water, and they didn't know I was there. "Grandpa, I think Diana wants to hurt us, or take the house, or something bad. We can't trust her." I wanted to believe her, but another part of me, the lonely old man who'd finally found someone after years alone, resisted. "Maybe you misunderstood," I said gently. Sometimes conversations sound different when you only catch part of them. The look of betrayal on Emma's face haunts me still. "You don't believe me." "I didn't say that." "You don't," she stepped back. "Mom always told me to trust my instincts. I'm telling you something's wrong, and you won't listen." She ran back into the house, and I stood there in my garage, torn between the woman I thought I loved and the granddaughter who'd never lied to me before. I decided to watch, to pay attention, but I didn't confront Diana. That was my first mistake. The next morning, I noticed Trevor watching me as I made breakfast. Not watching, studying, like he was calculating something. When I met his eyes, he quickly looked away. Diana was unusually cheerful, talking about maybe redecorating the living room, asking if I'd mind if she freshened things up. At the time, I thought she was just trying to make the house feel more like her home too. That afternoon, I got a call from my insurance agent, Jerry, who'd been handling my policies for 20 years. "Rob, I got a strange request," he said. "Someone called asking about your life insurance policy. Said they were your fiancé and needed to know the beneficiary information." My hand tightened on the phone. "I'm not engaged, Jerry. And the beneficiary is Emma. It's always been Emma." There was a pause. The woman said her name was Diana Reeves. She seemed to think she should be listed. "Don't change anything," I said. "And Jerry, can you send me copies of all my policies? I want to review them." "Sure thing." "Rob, is everything okay?" "I don't know yet." That night, I went through my files. My life insurance was substantial, $800,000, meant to ensure Emma's education and future. My house was paid off, worth about $600,000. My retirement accounts held another $300,000. On paper, I was worth nearly $2 million to whoever inherited from me. I'd never thought of myself as wealthy, just comfortable. But suddenly, I understood what might be at stake. I started noticing other things. Diana had moved several of her boxes into my bedroom closet, but I'd never seen her fully unpack. Trevor had been asking casual questions about my daily routines, what time I left for work, when I came home. Diana had suggested I update my will since we're a family now, and when I'd said I needed to think about it, her smile had faltered just for a second. Emma barely spoke to either of them anymore. She'd come straight to me after school, do her homework at the kitchen table where I could see her, and retreat to her room as soon as dinner was over. The light under her door stayed on late into the night. I knocked once and found her reading, but her eyes were red like she'd been crying. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you right away," I said from her doorway. She looked up at me, and something in her expression was far too old for 9 years. "Do you believe me now?" "I'm starting to," I admitted, "but I need proof before I can do anything. If I'm wrong, I'll have ruined a good thing. If I'm right, I need to be sure before I act." Emma closed her book. "How do we get proof?" My smart, brave granddaughter was already thinking ahead. "I don't know yet, but I promise you, I'm watching now, and I won't let anything happen to you. The universe has a cruel sense of timing." 2 days later, I met Daniel Crawford at the hardware store. I'd gone in for some wood screws, and this man in his 60s struck up a conversation in the tools aisle. We started talking about projects, then grabbed coffee at the diner next door. He told me he was recently retired from a career in private investigation, had moved to Riverside to be closer to his daughter, and was bored out of his mind. "I spent 35 years investigating insurance fraud, infidelity, missing persons," he said, stirring his coffee. "Now I'm supposed to be happy playing golf and doing crossword puzzles. I miss the work." Something made me open up to this stranger. Maybe it was the genuine way he listened, or maybe I was desperate for someone outside the situation to tell me I wasn't crazy. I told him about Diana, about Emma's warning, about the insurance call. Daniel's demeanor shifted immediately. He set down his coffee cup, his expression serious. "Rob, I don't want to alarm you, but what you're describing fits a pattern I've seen before. Can I ask you some questions?" For the next hour, he walked me through Diana's behavior with the precision of a surgeon. How long had we known each other? 4 months before she moved in. Did she have her own place? She claimed she'd been renting, but I'd never seen it. What did I know about her background? Only what she'd told me: divorced, worked in real estate, Trevor was her only child. "Have you ever met anyone from her past?" Daniel asked. "Friends? Co-workers? Family?" I realized I hadn't. She'd said her family was scattered, that she'd lost touch with most people after her divorce. At the time, I'd thought we bonded over shared loneliness. Now, it felt like a red flag. "Rob, I've seen this before," Daniel said carefully. "Older individuals with assets, recently widowed, lonely. They're targets for a specific kind of predator. I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening here, but the signs are concerning. Has she asked you to change any legal documents?" "She suggested I update my will." "Has she asked about your finances directly?" "She wanted to know about my retirement plans. Said she wanted to make sure we were aligned for the future." Daniel reached into his wallet and pulled out a business card, even though he'd said he was retired. "I'm going to help you. No charge. I can't sit by knowing a child might be in danger, but we need to be methodical. If your granddaughter heard what she thinks she heard, we need evidence. Hard evidence. What do I do? I asked, feeling both relieved and terrified. First, don't let them know you're suspicious. Keep acting normal. Second, I'm going to run a background check on Diana and Trevor. Third, we need to document everything. Can you get me their full names, birth dates, any information you have? I could, barely. I'd seen Diana's driver's license once. Trevor's, I could probably find in the house somewhere. What are we looking for? History, Daniel said grimly. Criminal records, past marriages, civil suits, debt. People like this rarely start with their first victim. There's usually a pattern. It took 3 days for Daniel to call me back. I'd continued acting normal at home, playing the devoted partner to Diana, the friendly stepfather figure to Trevor. Emma watched me with those knowing eyes, and I'd nod slightly to let her know I was working on it. When Daniel asked me to meet him at a park across town, I knew it was bad news. He was sitting on a bench with a folder, and when I sat down next to him, he didn't waste time. Diana Reeves is not her real name, he said. Her legal name is Diana Kovac. She's been married 4 times. 2 of those husbands died within 2 years of marrying her. 1 in a suspicious fall, 1 from sudden heart failure. Both left her as beneficiary. She was investigated but never charged. The 3rd husband survived but lost his life savings in their divorce. He filed a restraining order against her for harassment and threats. My mouth went dry. And the 4th died last year. Accidental drowning in his own bathtub. Again, she inherited. Again, investigated but not charged. The life insurance company suspected fraud but couldn't prove it. She walked away with $400,000. Jesus Christ, I whispered. And Trevor? That's where it gets worse. Trevor isn't her son. He's her nephew. But she's raised him since he was 12, after her sister died under suspicious circumstances. Trevor has a juvenile record that was sealed, but I have contacts. Assault, robbery, fraud. He's been her accomplice in at least 2 of the schemes. They're a team. I felt sick. Why wasn't she caught? Because she's smart. She never leaves direct evidence. She probably doesn't do the actual deed herself. That's what Trevor is for. My guess is they identify lonely targets with assets. She romances them, they move in, and then arrange an accident. With 4 successful schemes behind her, she's refined her method. You were probably chosen carefully. What do? I was gripping the bench so hard my knuckles were white. I can't just kick them out. If they know I'm onto them, they'll accelerate, Daniel finished. Rob, you need to go to the police. Now. Today. We did. I took all the information Daniel had compiled to the Riverside Police Department. Detective Sarah Morrison listened to everything, took notes, reviewed the background check results. Then she leaned back in her chair with a frustrated expression. Mr. Mitchell, I believe you, she said, and this information is deeply concerning. But here's our problem. We don't have evidence of a crime yet. Suspicious behavior isn't illegal. We can't arrest someone for having a criminal past or for moving into your house. So what can I do? I asked desperately. Document everything. If they make any overt threats, if you find evidence of planning, if anything concrete happens, call us immediately. In the meantime, I'd suggest getting them out of your house as soon as possible. You have the right to ask them to leave. And if they refuse, then we can help you with a formal eviction, but that takes time. If you fear for your safety or your granddaughter's safety, we can discuss protective orders, but we'd need evidence of direct threats. I left the police station feeling helpless. Daniel was waiting in the parking lot. It's not enough, is it? He said, reading my expression. They can't do anything until Diana actually tries something. Then we make sure we catch her in the act, Daniel said. We set a trap. Over the next week, Daniel and I planned carefully. He installed hidden cameras in my house in the living room, kitchen, and hallway. I bought a small recording device that I kept in my pocket whenever I was home. Emma knew to stay close to me and to never be alone with Diana or Trevor. I started dropping hints to Diana that I was considering updating my will, that I'd made an appointment with my lawyer for the following week. I mentioned that I'd been feeling tired lately, having some chest pains. Her eyes had lit up at that news, though she quickly arranged her face into concern. "Oh, honey, you should see a doctor," she'd said, touching my arm. "We need to make sure you're healthy. You're so important to us." Us. Like she and Trevor were family. Like they belonged in my home, in my life. It made my skin crawl. Trevor started asking more questions about my routines. When did I take my medication? Did I ever forget doses? Did I keep my pills in the bathroom or kitchen? I answered vaguely, pretending to be the absent-minded old man they thought I was. Emma played her part too. She pretended to ignore them, to be the sullen child who'd accepted their presence reluctantly. But at night, she'd come to my room, and we'd review the camera footage on my laptop. We were waiting for them to reveal their plan. It happened on a Thursday night. I'd pretended to go to bed early, complaining about my chest pains. Emma was in her room, door locked as we'd practiced. Diana and Trevor thought we were both asleep. The camera in the kitchen caught everything. Diana sat at my kitchen table with a laptop open in front of her. Trevor stood behind her, looking at the screen. "The appointment is Tuesday," Diana said. "We need to move before then. If he changes his will, we're screwed." "What about the kid?" Trevor asked. I heard Emma's words echo in my memory, the same question from weeks ago. "I already called Child Protective Services," Diana said casually, like she was discussing grocery shopping. "I reported concerns about his ability to care for her, memory issues, leaving her unsupervised, not maintaining a safe home. They're opening an investigation. Once he's gone, Emma will be removed from the house, probably sent to her father, and will be here to contest the will as his surviving partner. The house becomes part of estate probate, and I'll claim cohabitation rights. What if the will doesn't include you?" Diana smiled, and it was the coldest expression I'd ever seen. "Then we make sure the will can't be found, or we challenge it based on his mental competency. I've been documenting his memory lapses for weeks. I have witnesses who can testify he was declining. It doesn't matter what the will says if we can prove he wasn't of sound mind when he made it." "And how exactly does he die?" Trevor asked. "We've done the fall before, the drowning, the heart attack. What's the plan this time?" Diana closed the laptop. "Carbon monoxide. His garage is attached to the house. All we need to do is run his car in there while he's sleeping Sunday night. It'll look like he was working late in his workshop, forgot to turn off the engine, fell asleep. Tragic accident. The old man who was so tired from his heart troubles that he didn't notice. We discover him Monday morning, devastated. We're the grieving girlfriend and stepson who tried so hard to make him happy in his final months." My hands were shaking as I watched the footage. This was real. They were planning to kill me in 3 days. Trevor leaned against the counter. "What if Emma wakes up? What if she smells it?" "She won't. I'll make sure her window is open a crack. The carbon monoxide will concentrate in his bedroom above the garage. By the time it spreads to her room, it'll be morning, and we'll already be calling 911. Even if she feels sick, it'll just seem like she's upset about finding her grandfather dead. They were going to murder me and risk poisoning my granddaughter as collateral damage. Emma had tried to warn me, and I'd almost dismissed it. Almost. I saved the video footage and sent it to Daniel immediately. He called me back within minutes. "That's enough. That's conspiracy to commit murder. Call Detective Morrison right now. I'm coming over." At 11 o'clock at night, Detective Morrison and 3 other officers arrived at my house with an arrest warrant. I stayed in my bedroom with Emma while they knocked on the door. I heard Deanna answer, heard her confused, innocent voice asking what was wrong. "Diana Kovac, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." Morrison's voice was hard and professional. "What? There must be some mistake. Trevor Kovac, you're also under arrest." The next 10 minutes were chaos. Diana screamed that it was a misunderstanding, that I was confused, that I was a sick old man who'd been hallucinating. Trevor stayed silent, his face pale as they handcuffed him. Diana's mask finally slipped as the officers led her past my bedroom door. She looked right at me with pure hatred in her eyes. "You should have just died quietly," she hissed. Emma pressed closer to me, and I held her tight. "It's over," I whispered. "You were right. You saved us both." The trial took 8 months. Daniel's investigation had uncovered even more fraudulent insurance claims, forged documents, email communications between Diana and Trevor detailing their plans. The prosecution built an airtight case. Diana and Trevor's public defender tried to argue entrapment, but the video footage of them planning my murder in my own kitchen was damning. Diana was sentenced to 25 years to life. Trevor, because of his age and willingness to testify against Diana, got 15 years with possibility of parole. Turned out she'd been manipulating him since childhood, though he was still culpable for his choices. The judge called them predators, who specifically targeted vulnerable individuals for financial gain. During the sentencing, Diana's third husband, the one who'd survived and gotten the restraining order, came forward. So did the adult son of her second husband, the one who died from heart failure. Both testified about their experiences, about the warning signs they'd missed, about the devastation Diana had caused. I wasn't her first victim, but I was determined to be her last. Emma testified too, briefly. The judge allowed it since she'd overheard the original threats. She sat in that witness stand, small and brave, and told the court exactly what she'd heard that September night. She explained how she'd tried to warn me, how scared she'd been, how she'd felt when I finally believed her. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. That little girl's instincts saved her grandfather's life, the prosecutor said in her closing argument. She saw through the mask when the adults around her couldn't. She trusted her gut, and when she wasn't believed immediately, she didn't give up. This case should remind us all to listen to our children when they tell us something's wrong. After the trial, I sold my house. Too many bad memories. Emma and I moved to a smaller place across town, a fresh start. Daniel helped us move, and he's become a fixture in our lives, the grandfather figure Emma deserves, the friend I needed. We have dinner together every week, and he's teaching Emma chess and self-defense. He says she's a natural at both. My son finally got the therapy he needed and has become more involved in Emma's life. She spends some weekends with him now, and I can see him healing, becoming the father he needs to be. He thanks me constantly for protecting her, but I remind him that Emma protected herself. She protected both of us. Emma's 12 now. She's resilient, smart, still always reading. She wants to be a criminal psychologist when she grows up. Says she wants to understand why people like Diana do what they do, wants to help catch them. I tell her she's already caught one, and that's more than most people do in a lifetime. Last week, we went to the cemetery to visit Margaret's grave. I told her everything that had happened, about how her instincts had been right about Diana from the start, about how our granddaughter had saved my life. I placed flowers on her grave and whispered, "I found my family again, Maggie. Not the one I thought I wanted, but the one I needed." Emma, Daniel, even my son coming back into our lives properly. They chose to be here. That's what family really means. Emma slipped her hand into mine. "What are you thinking about, Grandpa?" "I'm thinking about trust," I said, "and how I almost ignored the most important person in my life because I was afraid of being alone. I'm thinking about how your mom told you to trust your instincts, and how right she was. I'm thinking about how lucky I am that you're as brave as you are smart." She squeezed my hand. "I'm lucky too, that you finally listened. Always," I promised. "From now on, always." That night, as I tucked Emma into bed, yes, at 12, she still lets me. And I cherish it. She asked me something that had clearly been on her mind. "Grandpa, are you going to date again? Ever?" I sat on the edge of her bed. "Maybe someday. But not for a long time, and not until we're both ready. And when I do, you'll meet them first. Not the other way around. Your opinion matters most. Do you understand that?" She nodded. "Good. Because I think Mr. Crawford's daughter Karen seemed nice when we met her at his house. She's single, and she likes woodworking too." I laughed, surprised. "Are you trying to set me up, young lady?" "I'm just saying, if you're going to date someone whose family I've already met. Someone with history. Someone who doesn't just appear out of nowhere with a teenage accomplice and a lifetime of dead husbands." "That's a pretty low bar," I said, smiling. "But fair enough." She grinned. Then her expression turned serious. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't believed me? Every day, I admitted. And every day I'm grateful that I came to my senses in time. You saved our lives, Emma. Never doubt that. We saved our lives, she corrected. You did the hard part. You gathered the evidence, set the trap, worked with Mr. Crawford. I just told you what I heard. You trusted your instincts and you didn't give up on me even when I doubted you, I said. That's the hardest part of all. Standing up for the truth when the people you love don't want to hear it. You did that at 9 years old. I'm more proud of you than you'll ever know. She hugged me tight, and I held on, grateful for this second chance, grateful for my granddaughter's wisdom, grateful for Daniel's help, grateful that Emma's voice had been heard before it was too late. As I turned off her light and closed her door, I thought about all the ways this story could have ended. Diana and Trevor's plan would have worked. It was simple, clean, hard to prove. The grieving girlfriend would have inherited enough to disappear before anyone looked too closely. Emma would have been traumatized, removed from the home, possibly never told the truth about what really happened. Another successful scheme for Diana Kovac. But it didn't end that way. It ended with justice, with family, with a little girl's brave voice finally being heard, and with an old man learning the most important lesson of his life. Trust is earned, not given freely. And sometimes the people who love you most will tell you the truths you don't want to hear. Those are the people you listen to. Those are the people you protect. Those are the people who become your real family. I walked downstairs to find Daniel sitting at my kitchen table, the new table, in the new house, with none of the dark memories attached. He'd let himself in with the spare key I'd given him. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked, pouring us both coffee. "Wanted to check on you two," he said. "Anniversary of the arrest is next week. Sometimes that brings things up." "We're okay," I said, sitting across from him. "Better than okay. We're building something good here." "You did a brave thing, Rob," Daniel said quietly. "Not many people would have listened, even with evidence. Your pride could have gotten in the way. Your embarrassment at being fooled. Your desperation to not be alone. But you put Emma first. You faced the truth." "I almost didn't," I reminded him. "I almost chose my own comfort over her safety." "Almost doesn't count," Daniel said firmly. "You did the right thing when it mattered. That's what counts. And now you get to watch that incredible kid grow up. You get to be the grandfather she needs. Diana Kovac is in prison where she belongs, and you're here, drinking coffee in your own kitchen. That's a win, my friend." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Daniel cleared his throat. "My daughter Karen is coming to visit next month. She's bringing her daughter your Emma's age, actually. I thought maybe we could all have dinner. If you're interested, no pressure." I smiled, thinking of Emma's matchmaking attempt. "I'd like that. We'd both like that. But Daniel?" "Yeah? Can we run a background check on her first?" He laughed, a deep belly laugh that filled my new kitchen with warmth. "Already did, my friend. Already did. Clean as a whistle. But I appreciate your caution. That's how you stay safe." "That's how we stay safe," I corrected. "Emma and I. Together." "Together," he agreed, raising his coffee cup. "The family